that that's out the way, let me introduce us for those of you who do not know. I'm Dedrick Henry, and the lovely young lady sitting there on my right is, I actually let her say her name.
I'm Karen Clark. Welcome to Caribbean Report tonight.
And again, we're just happy for you to be here with us this evening. And I hesitated because, you know, we're on the, well, first of all, you can see us on the web live at peopletv.org, or you're either watching us on cable. But the reason I hesitated with this evening is people can watch the tape versions of this show any time of the day. So, and to get to that site, that's myspace.com/Atlanta Caribbean Report. And we'll get into more, we'll mention that more during the show, and you'll probably see it flash up on the screen. But just one more time, that's myspace.com/Atlanta Caribbean Report. If you remember that one site, then you'll be able to get to anything. The People TV link is on that site, and everything about contacting us is on that site. Now, we have a very exciting show today. We have Dr. Elizabeth Barkley, or Barclay. And well, let me say this. We're doing something unique tonight. For those of you who've been watching us this season, we have, I guess you could say, a 2-segment show. We have the main Caribbean Report show, and then we have the My Preventive Health section of Caribbean Report. Well, tonight we're honored to have a guest that actually has a tie-in on both programs. But before I go further into her, there are a couple of news articles that we want to get out to you. And Karen, I'll let you start with the first one, and I get the second one. And the reason we're only able to cover two tonight is, first of all, we don't have enough time. And second of all, you all can get more information on these articles and any article pertaining to the papers that we get these from, the Caribbean papers we get these from our website. If you just look on our site and click on news sources for the show, you can get all of this information.
Okay. Welcome again to Caribbean Report. And what I would like to tell you this evening, coming out of Barbados, they have reserved $20 million for unemployment insurance.
Really?
And yes, and it's going to start in April.
Really?
So they have, and that's U.S. dollars.
Right.
20 million U.S. dollars, and that's reserved. It's going to begin in April. So that is what's going on in that island.
Okay.
Yes, and if you would like to have more information on that, you can go to 360 and .com to get that information, or you can go to myspace.com/Atlanta Caribbean Report, and you can get all the various news segments right there.
Okay. Okay. And just one other article one other news item that I'd like to mention. A lot of you probably heard of the various corruption that's going on or alleged corruption that's going on in the Turks and Caicos Islands. And the reason I say a lot of people may know is that's watching us is just because of the U.S. connection with it. You know, the leader or the former leader before he was ousted, Michael Music, was married to Lisa Ray, which is a famous actor here in the United States. And there was a terrible divorce. And also there's a lot of, like I said, corruption going on with Michael Music's party, or with his, I guess you could say, administration. And because of that, the British government now wants to take over. So I'll let you go to the site and get more information on that, but that is the full background of it. So it looks like it's going to get a lot more heated, ugly, before it gets any cleaner and prettier. So please, I mean, we'll continue to give you updates on that, but you can check daily on our website and to keep up with the news information on this article. Now, I don't want to take any more time because I know how quick our time goes, and we want to give our guests as much time as possible. But we have Dr. Elizabeth. Now, is it Barclay or Bar?
Barclay.
Okay, I don't want to pronounce it wrong, so I had to Barclay. Okay. Hey, that's a good association. That's good.
No relation. Okay.
And in general, she's a Liberian-American physicist. Or physicist. Psychiatrist. Now, what did I get? Oh, I know what I want.
It's shorthand again.
Shorthand. Can't even read my own writing. Of course, she's a psychiatrist. And there's so much information. And I don't want to dive into the meat of it yet. So, if you can just let me do this. I'm going to have to touch one part of it. Now, one major area that you are touching are the child soldiers in Liberia.
Yes.
And you can of course explain this better than me, but just to throw out a little background, once these child soldiers got disarmed, they wanted to put them back into society.
Yes.
But the problem with that is, how can you, okay, audience, I put it to you this way. When somebody comes back from war after fighting all these years, the military, even though it may not be as successful as it should, but they have a program to kind of, right, to decondition your mind to fit back into society. Mm-hmm. That is not the case at the moment in this situation.
Yes.
And this is something that you're definitely working on. And because you can explain a lot better than I can, since you're doing it, I'm going to let you expound on this.
Okay, and you were right. You know, at the end of the war, a lot of the youth that had been recruited by the different warring factions and were fighting along with them were what they called demobilized.
Right.
The guns were taken away from them. However, that did not solve their problems.
Right.
You know, they still had the stigma attached
Mm-hmm.
to the fact that they had been fighting with different factions and may have engaged in some atrocities. And because the Liberia is still on the upswing in terms of rebuilding, a lot of programs had not been put in place to address the issues. And some of the disorders that accompany these children are like PTSD. Mm-hmm. You know, they had witnessed so many atrocities, a lot of depression, a lot of hopelessness, basically, afterwards. The other issue that went along with them being reintegrated into society was their lack of family support. A lot of them had lost their parents. Mm-hmm. A lot of them had been orphaned. And so that's contributing to the problems in Liberia right now. But we're very hopeful that this will improve.
Can I ask this question? You say young youths. Please tell our audience the ages that you're talking about. When were they recruited, mm-hmm. and how old are they now?
Well, the war had gone on for about 14 years, mm-hmm. and 14, 15 years, and a lot of them have been recruited as young as 8, 9, 10 years old. So a lot of them would be, you know, about 20.
Right, and then early 20s.
Yeah.
It's hard to, when someone's been conditioned from such a young age, mm-hmm. and they have reached the maturity of manhood, that is a lot to deal with.
Exactly. And
to not have any family and to be orphaned, you don't have that loving support either.
Exactly.
So I can understand. I can't understand the depression because I'm not equipped, but I could empathize with. Yeah. It's very heartbreaking.
It is. But we're hopeful, and I personally am engaged in helping the situation, mm-hmm. by going on mission trips, mm-hmm. Just to kind of see what the situation is like, mm-hmm. help out. For example, one of the other guests that will be on mm-hmm. the My Preventative section will tell a little bit more about some of the children, mm-hmm. that we're reaching out to in mm-hmm. terms of education, health. Mm-hmm. So we're hopeful.
What can we do as citizens here in this country to support our young men there?
Well, we're reaching out to everyone that has a heart, mm-hmm. to help in the rebuilding of Liberia, broadly, but more specifically, different programs, and we'll be directing you to different sites where you can get involved, or mm-hmm. donate, or get more information about the programs that we're involved in.
Okay, how big? I know you said you went on mission trips. How many people go with you?
This particular trip will have, and the other guests will give more information on this. About 10 to 12 members in a group that will involve some physicians, some other ancillary staff, medical staff, in a group. So.
Okay, and you just mentioned physicians, and that brought something else to mind. And I may not have the exact number right, but is it true that there's only roughly 30 doctors for, what is it, 5 million per 5 million?
Yep.
Wow.
The ratio, because of the war, the long-standing war,
Right.
it really cut into our supply of doctors,
Right.
professionally trained physicians, and so that is the situation that we're facing right now.
Wow.
So that's another problem that we're helping to address, helping to attract physicians over here or all over the world that may want to go and assist over there. And I'll give more information on the other program about how, if someone would be interested in helping out in Liberia.
Okay. Okay. And again, just to recap, we have Dr. Elizabeth Barclay, but I'm going to give you more information on her after the break. Thanks.
J'aurais pu dire c'est le 2, le remix ou le remake. Mon rap c'est Hollywood à Paris, c'est de la tuerie mec. Mon flow un flingue du style automatique, mais toi à l'abri quand je rate-tête. J'aurais pu dire que tu sois blood ou clips ou tout si mon rap perd pas ses tripes. Mon flow frappe n'importe où comme une balle perdue. Sa violence est aveugle, crois-le, il cogne, il perdure. Attention, j'aurais pu dire c'est de la boucherie. Un rap saignant qu'on achète que dans les boucheries. 2005, je viens casser tes bouches, m'imposer au monde comme George Bush. Attention, ça va valser. Devinez qui mène la danse. C'est le bad boy, pas le b-boy. Respecter des Kaira et des wood boy. J'aurais pu dire je vais prendre le trône car il est temps qu'ils admettent qui est le meilleur dans le rap c'est franc. Qu'ils reconnaissent qui est l'MC le plus performant, qui a le flow Kuchlas le plus perforant. Je n'ai pas peur du clash, je suis un combattant. Attention, je ne suis jamais là où on m'attend. Attention, si jamais tu prétends que j'ai fait mon temps. Attention, je vais écrire ce texte avec ton sang. Attention, parce que je me suis mis en mode destruction. Attention, parce que je laisse parler.
Welcome back. As I mentioned earlier, you all will see the website. So you just saw it on there, myspace.com/Atlanta Caribbean Report. And for those of you who haven't seen the show before, as I just mentioned, the title is Caribbean Report, and we just say Atlanta because that's where we're feminist based out of. And we have Dr. Elizabeth Barclay, and she is a Liberian American psychiatrist. And you all are probably asking, well, what is the connection here on Caribbean Report? Well, I'm glad you asked that because you know there is. We wouldn't just have us sitting here for no reason. So I'm going to ask you the question. What is your connection to the Caribbean?
Okay, my connection to the Caribbean, back in 1865, my great-grandfather immigrated along with his family from Barbados.
Really?
So that is my connection to
Wow.
Barbados. Yes, he immigrated. His name was Arthur Barclay,
Okay.
and he immigrated along with his family to Liberia at the call of the then President Daniel B. Warner in Liberia. Liberia was a young republic at that time, and they
Okay.
were trying to attract upstanding families from all over the world, in
Right.
particular the Caribbean.
Really?
Yes.
And not to interrupt you, but why particularly there?
Well, one of the members of the government at the time, Edward Wilmot Blyden,
Okay.
he had connections to the Caribbean.
Really?
Yeah, he was, I believe he was born in Guadeloupe. I'm not sure, Martinique, somewhere, but anyway, he grew
Okay.
up in Venezuela.
Okay.
And he immigrated to Liberia earlier. So due to his connection, he encouraged the then President Daniel B. Warner that a lot of families would be interested in immigrating.
Right.
And my family, the Barclays, were one of those
Wow.
And anything, did your family do anything special in the country? I mean, any legacy?
Well, the group of families that came on the ship Cora, that was the ship Cora, and it was a special trip because they all prayed very hard for everything to work. There were 350, approximately 350, because they had some stowaways as well. There was approximately 350 members, 350 members on the ship that had a number of families and children. The trip was historic because everybody survived the trip, which was very unusual.
Okay.
Everybody survived the trip and made it to Liberia. From that group of families, many members became upstanding leaders in the Liberian society and government.
Really?
Some of the family members' names from Barbados, Barclays, of course, that was my family. The Grimes, the Wiles, the Padmores, the Weeks, the Holders, the Thorpes, the Goodriches.
Really?
Yes, and a lot of them, many of them became upstanding members in the society. My great-grandfather, who was Arthur Barclay, did become president
Wow.
in 1904. In addition to his nephew, Edwin Barclay, he was a great president as well.
Wow.
I believe that was later on.
Okay.
But many families that came from Barbados became secretaries of state, attorney generals.
Wow.
Very political.
Yes, yes.
And that's interesting that she said Attorney General. Because look at the case in the U.S. now.
Yes. Who's the Attorney General? Bless
wow.
us with his presence every Friday. Yes.
Wow, that's just something how history repeats itself.
So that's the connection. And we're very proud of our Bajan heritage.
Right. And for those of you who don't know, we're referring to Attorney General Eric Holder, who of course has been he is the Attorney General. He was appointed by President Obama for his administration. And for those of you who don't know, he's of Bajan heritage. So here's another case of Attorney General going to another, being of Bajan descent, going to another country. Now, given that legacy, I guess you could say that Barbados-Liberia connection, is there anything that goes on today with the connection of the two countries?
Nothing that I can think of on a national basis,
Okay.
but each family, I believe, still has some connection. And I know particularly my family has taken several trips
Good.
to Barbados, and in fact, they've gone. I haven't gone personally, but some members of my family, the Padmores, the Wiles, I believe, have been on trips to just to kind of keep that connection.
Right.
And they visited some of the memorial, the burial grounds of some of their ancestors.
And some of your family members in Barbados, are they in political?
That
power
I
as
can't
well?
give you. That I can't give you any accurate information right now.
Okay.
Maybe when I go, I'm gonna,
Right.
I'm gonna maybe do a little bit more digging.
Okay. Right. Sounds good.
Wow, that is definitely interesting. And as we told you in the past, Honest, we come with you with new information that you don't know. I mean, this is even new to me. I didn't know so much. I mean, I know in general. I mean, a lot of people just think of people going from the Caribbean to the U.S. They just, or to England or to whatever country their island is governed by or was governed by. But a lot of times they don't look at the connection to Africa.
Well, it's very history making.
It is.
That and also there were Americans that left here and went to Liberia at that time.
Right.
So it's very history making.
Yes.
Very history making for that to happen.
Now, one thing, going back to and I don't know if you have this information. You said that was the first trip, or the first no trip, when nobody had really passed. They successfully made the trip from Barbados.
Yes, that was recorded
Right.
in the history because it was because the president at the time, Daniel B. Warner, had invited the immigrants.
Right.
They were received by him. So it was almost like an official welcoming ceremony.
Okay.
And it was recorded then that everybody had survived
Wow.
that trip, and this was unusual.
How many?
I don't know how long it took.
I know you probably don't know the exact number, but is it typically many that die, or?
Well, I can't really. It was,
How long does a trip like that take?
See, that's the other
Yes,
question. Yeah,
okay,
especially
yeah.
during that year.
yeah,
During
during
you talking about
that
1800s.
time.
Yeah.
back then.
yeah.
Well, I do know that it took them about a month.
Wow.
A month.
And they
Yes,
survived.
on the
Wow.
seas, yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes. So, and they were welcomed, and given all the assistance in their new land, new homeland.
That's the other thing, but unfortunately, I'm not going to have time to get into that.
Yes.
But please stay tuned. You're going to still see Dr. Elizabeth
Yes, we're gonna
Barclay
go
in the
ahead.
second half of the program,
Okay.
so you don't want to miss the rest and the other part of this story. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the other side of the break.
J'aurais pu dire c'est le 2, le remix ou le remake. Mon rap c'est Hollywood à Paris, c'est de la tuerie mec. Mon flow un flingue du style automatique, mais toi à l'abri quand je ratatatata. J'aurais pu dire que tu sois blood ou plus ou tout si mon rap perd pas ses tripes. Mon flow frappe n'importe où comme une balle perdue. Sa violence est aveugle, crois-le, il cogne, il perdure. Attention, j'aurais pu dire c'est de la boucherie. Un rap saignant qu'on achète que dans les boucheries. 2005, je viens casser tes bouches. M'imposer au monde comme George Bush. Attention, ça va valser. Devinez qui mène la danse. C'est le bad boy, pas le b-boy. Respecter des Kaira et des wood boy. J'aurais pu dire je vais prendre le trône car il est temps qu'ils admettent qui est le meilleur dans le rap c'est franc. Qu'ils reconnaissent qui est l'MC le plus performant. Qui a le flow Kuchlas le plus perforant. Je n'ai pas peur du clash, je suis un combattant. Attention, je ne suis jamais là où on m'attend. Attention, si jamais tu prétends que j'ai fait mon temps. Attention, je vais écrire ce texte avec ton sang. Attention, parce que je me suis mis en mode destruction. Attention, parce que je laisse parler mes impulsions. Attention, je suis sauvage dans la compétition. Attention, ça c'est le refrain donc répétition. Attention, parce que je me suis mis en mode destruction. Attention, parce que je laisse parler mes impulsions. Attention, je suis sauvage dans la compétition. Attention, 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 attention. J'aurais pu dire c'est danger. Attention, foulez comme les mecs de Guadada. Attention, c'est un coup de machette ça. Attention, vous pouvez pas tester ça. Attention, qui est le best? Après mon passage, mais qu'est-ce qui reste? Tu veux de la performance, il bat t'inquiète. Laisse-moi donner ça, dégommer ça, je te remets ça. Attention, attention, j'aurais pu dire dans le rap, je vais durer. Purée, je vais tuer ça, je peux vous jurer. Je vais inonder le marché jusqu'à le saturer. Capturer le rap français après l'avoir ceinturé. Je vais le plaquer au sol, le ligoter, le torturer. Il va changer de visage normal et je vais le défigurer. Je vais drop des bombes, creuser des tombes. Je les prends tous, quel que soit leur nombre. J'aurais pu dire, ils peuvent même pas imaginer le nombre de flows que j'ai pour les assassiner. Je mets à chanter, regarde-les, ils sont fascinés. Ils se demandent si du rap ou du rock and roll. Attention, je demande, c'est du rap ou du rock and roll. J'aurais pu dire, même si ton flow est trop fragile, il a beau faire de la gonflette, il est fait d'argile. Le mien est taillé dans le ciment, mais pourtant agile. Agile, dès que je le balance au mic, les foules s'agitent. Ton flow est efféminé, le mien est viril. Tes rimes sont faciles, je les vois venir comme un keuf en civil. Je domine la ville, sur cassette CD ou sur vinyle. Don't you know I carry jazz and I stay real. J'ai trop de style, mon flow est trop versatile. Le tien est rigide, le mien est trop mobile. Dans le rap game, en déplacement à domicile. Je balance des missiles, ici ceci est un homicide. Mon flow ne suit plus, pourtant le mien lui reste lucide. Quand mon rap s'énerve, pourquoi le tien devient docile? Compréhensif, pourtant le mien demeure attention, non, I'm Kerry James and I stick real. Attention, parce que je me suis mis en mode destruction. Attention, parce que je laisse parler mes impulsions. Attention, je suis sauvage dans la compétition. Attention, ça c'est le refrain donc répétition. Attention, parce que je me suis mis en mode destruction. Attention, parce que je laisse parler mes impulsions. Attention, je suis sauvage dans la compétition. Attention, 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 attention. J'aurais pu dire c'est danger. Attention, foulez comme les mecs de Guadada. Attention, c'est un coup de machette ça. Attention, vous pouvez pas faire ça. Attention, qui est le best. Après mon passage, mais qu'est-ce qui reste? Tu veux de la performance, il bah t'inquiète. Laisse-moi donner ça, le beau message, je te remets ça. Attention.
Great. Well, welcome back to My Preventive Health, the second segment of the Caribbean Report. I was actually personally watching the Caribbean Report. It was very exciting today. We have with us today two fantastic guests. But let me start by saying a little bit something that really all of you know. In America, no matter how badly off we are, we always find time to help other people. And today we have two very outstanding examples of people who go out of their way to help others. We have with us Dr. Elizabeth Barclay, who is a Liberian American physician, very outstanding in her own right, who has put her own needs aside and is looking to organize a team to help with the medical situation in the post-conflict situation in Liberia, where, as many of you recall, a 14-year civil war has just come to an end. And with Dr. Barclay, we have another very outstanding gentleman, Mr. John Yedia, who is the founder and president of Hope Christian International Ministries. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Good. And that's a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to providing assistance to Liberia. And I understand that you're working in a small village called Timbo in Liberia, which is a rural town that you're trying to really build some institutions, schools, churches, and so on in that area.
That is correct.
Well, great. Well, Dr. Barclay, welcome to My Preventive Health, and welcome, Mr. Yedia. We know that you're sort of a brilliant, energetic lady, and I'm not going to go over all of your resume here because it'll take half of the hour here. And we just watched you on the Caribbean Report. Before I get started on Liberia, I was really, really excited about your connection to Barbados, being a Bajan myself. But I was disappointed that you hadn't been there, and I will make it my personal goal to make sure that you get there quickly with your lovely daughter, who I met outside. Now, but tell us a little bit again. Just let me remind the audience, for those of you who are just joining us, tell the audience a little bit again about your connection to Barbados. I understand that your great-grandfather
Yes, my great-grandfather
was the president, or one of the presidents of Liberia.
Yes.
How did that happen again?
Well, he immigrated along with his family at the age of 12, and he was educated in Liberia.
Right.
He went to the Liberia College at the time, which is now the University of Liberia, where he graduated and became, I believe his first post was maybe the clerk to the Secretary of State or in some position, and he rose
Through the ranks.
Yes, through the
Rose
ranks.
through the
Yeah, at one time he was the Postmaster General,
Right.
the Treasurer, and in 1904 he was elected president.
Right. Yeah, well, that's fascinating, and we certainly want to explore that maybe on another one of our shows in the spring. But coming back to the situation at hand, almost 20,000 child soldiers.
Yes.
Some, I'm told, as young as 7 or 8 years old,
Yes.
were recruited during those civil wars.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, my co-host, Dr. Matt, who you've met,
Yes.
Dr. Mack, we've just been discussing this, Dr. Mack and I mean, it just blows our mind.
Very amazing.
How does a 7 or 8 year old, what happens to these? How can something like this happen?
Well, this problem isn't really unique to Liberia. It's happening, and it's actually happening as we speak. Many times in war situations or unstable situations in other countries, for example, the Congo or Sudan, where parents and children may become separated due to disturbances. Which one?
And as
That's
we're
fine.
saying,
Go ahead.
Due to
We're showing
disturbances.
some of Liberia as we
Okay.
speak. Go ahead.
They become vulnerable to being recruited by different, maybe rebel or warring factions, and basically, that is what has happened in Liberia. Fortunately for Liberia, we're at a point in time where things are more stable.
Right. And so we finished the war,
Yes.
the post-conflict situation, and we're trying to look at reintegrating
Yes.
these young, really youths,
Yes.
some of them children, back into the society. I know you
No.
wanted to.
yes. Well, welcome again, Dr. Barkley.
Thank you, Dr.
And I want to know, a lot of the officials warned that the youths being reintegrated into society, going to the workforce, schools, and they haven't been successful on that route. And a lot of them with your psych background, a lot of the post-traumatic stress disorders and depressions. How is that? How has that been such an impact on the young children, and not only the young children, everyone that's been involved in the war itself?
Unfortunately, you can, as I mentioned earlier, you can take away the guns, you can take away the unstable situation, but the unseen effects, such as the post-traumatic stress disorder, the depression, the hopelessness, the feeling of being disengaged or from society. The other factor that comes into play with the youth is sometimes they're stigmatized because they were involved.
Exactly.
They may be ostracized because of that, because of the fact that they have been involved in the fighting. So all of that tends to complicate the problem and the reintegration into society.
Okay.
But we're hoping that as we can come up with more rehab programs and put their problems to the forefront,
Exactly.
a lot of these problems can be addressed.
Good.
Right. Well, that's great. And we're going to take just a quick break to tell people who we are and about this program.
Okay.
And then when we come back, I want to continue this discussion. We're speaking with Dr. Elizabeth Barkley on her efforts to bring attention to tens of thousands of child soldiers in her native Liberia. But before we get back to the discussion with Dr. Barkley, let me remind you that we are on Comcast Channel 24 in Atlanta. The front end of us is the Caribbean Report. You are now listening to My Preventive Health, and you can see us in streaming video also on the web at www.peopletv.org. We also encourage you to tune into our sister program, The Caribbean Report, Same time, 7 o'clock every Friday afternoon for news and events that will help you keep abreast of happenings in the Caribbean. As an added bonus of the Caribbean Report, for those of you who are watching, you can see you also have great eye candy with a very handsome gentleman, Dedrick, and a very lovely lady, Karen. So, so you do want to tune into the Caribbean Report as well. All right. So back to what we were saying. Welcome back. Then we are with My Preventive Health. We were talking with Dr. Barkley on how we are dealing with these child soldiers in Liberia. But I want to turn to your colleague, Mr. Yidia, who I know you've been organizing a missionary trip, really more trying to get the faith community involved. And taking the child soldiers off the battlefield, as you know, probably is the easy part, right? Making sure that they stay away.
That's right.
Once they got gone off is the different thing. And the faith community has always been involved in that area, sort of the long-term rehabilitation and so on in these communities. Tell us a little bit about what you are doing and how your work integrates with what Dr. Barkley is doing.
Thank you so much. In the year 2004, the Lord put a burden on my heart to directly address the deplorable conditions of the children in Liberia, especially so in the rural areas. And that burden has resulted into a ministry called Hope Christian International Ministry. We are a 501c3 non-profit organization. In 2006, I made a mission trip to the country with the help of my church. We carry drugs to help the children because of the lack of medical facilities in the rural areas, and 200 New Testament Bibles, and we help the children. And then this year, God's willing, in April, we will be going again with some medical doctors, some nurses, and some missionaries to help the children, and we'll be doing a feeding. As we share the gospel with the children and the residents of the villages, we also want to feed them.
Fantastic. And what is your ultimate goal in this village? What would you like to see accomplished?
Well, because of the lack of school and medical facilities, God's willing, we want to build a school starting from kindergarten to the 6th grade, and God's willing, in the near future, we want to reach out to a high school. Additionally, we also want to build a clinic because there's no medical facility in those villages.
Right.
Wow. And how do people, if in this whole society during our rough times, we're still out there to outreach and help, how do we get in touch with your cause?
Well, you can reach us by visiting our website, that is www.hopecim.org. Again, it's www.hope, the word hope, C as in Christian, R as in international, M as in ministry.org. Our telephone number is 678-463-4489.
Okay.
And you're a non-profit organization.
That is correct.
Right.
Very, very good. Now, I know you also wanted to talk a little bit about all these child soldiers.
I did, and this question is geared to Dr. Barkley again. And I know during the UN report, it said that a third of the 20,000 children that were on the front line, they were pretty much demobilized, and they had nowhere else to go but back to the front line because that's all they knew.
Exactly.
Now, I knew you were talking about a lot of the rehab centers, and just to get them back to incorporate them back into civilization. How is that progress going?
Well, that progress has been slow. However, I did speak with the only clinically trained psychiatrist, Dr. Harris, a few weeks ago, and he did tell me that the government has put together a group to research the situation with the hope of getting a more structured program to address specifically the mental health needs of such child soldiers.
Good.
It seems sort of sad that you'd go to all this trouble to bring them back, to make them get rid of the guns and so on.
Exactly.
And then because there's nothing else for them to do,
Yes.
then they end up back on the front line because that's really the only thing they know.
Yes.
Yeah, so there really is an incredible need for Hope Christian International Ministries.
Yes.
That is that you can understand that. That is really, really that's terrible that these little kids should not
Yeah.
have schooling. And what about girls' schooling versus the boys' schooling? Are there any facilities? I know in several parts of developing Africa, it's hard to get the girls in school.
In Liberia, that hasn't really been an issue. You know, where compared to some other countries, education is pretty much across the board in terms of boys and girls. So I think that will be something that.
Right. So when you build facilities, you build them for both boys and
correct.
girls.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's encouraging.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now the issue with the girls, and I do want to mention this as well. As you all know, during war situations, a lot of times young girls are taken advantage of in terms of being raped.
That's exactly
That has been a major issue in Liberia right now.
Right.
A lot of young girls had been abused in this fashion.
Right. Right.
And so a lot of work has to be done in terms of taking care of them. A lot of them need a lot of medical attention because of the what happens after.
Right. The post-traumatic.
Yes, the
stuff.
yeah.
Right, and it's a lot of this times. This is almost encouraged in times of war by the different warring factions. The
Exactly.
rape of the civilian population.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I have been reading in the UN reports that was quite an issue that we needed to address.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be coming up on what they call a hard break here fairly shortly.
Okay.
And before I do that, I want to give you one opportunity again to tell us, all those who are watching us, both in Atlanta and around the world, how we can help with the situation.
Okay.
And again, you said that, Mr. Yedea, can you tell us again how we can reach you to give you some assistance?
Well, as I said before, we can be reached through visiting our website. That is www.theworldhope.com.
Right.
Or by calling in 678-463-4489.
Right. And then once again, if you are watching us in Atlanta, you're seeing us on Comcast channel 24. You can also watch us on the web at www.peopletv.org. If you go to the right-hand side of your screen on the computer and click on Live Show, you'll see us. You'll be able to watch this live show. We are broadcast in Atlanta and also in streaming video around the world. We are having a great discussion here with a lovely Dr. Elizabeth Barclay, who is organized, and Mr. Yedea, who is the head of Hope International Christian Ministries, and they're organizing a team to assist with the challenges, the medical situation in Liberia. Dr. Barclay, we're going to take a moment to get some public service announcements done, and when we come back from that, we're going to want to chat with you a little bit about the discrepancies, the horrible discrepancy in the physician and the population. We'll chat about that a little bit. Okay. Now, so we know that you've had just a very small number of physicians in Liberia. Is the same true of nurses and other medical personnel?
Yes.
Okay.
I have to say yes.
Okay. All right, so I want you to address that for us when we come back from the break. Okay.
On peut dire c'est de la boucherie, un rap saignant qu'on achète que dans les boucheries. 2005, je viens casser tes bouches, m'imposer au monde comme George Bush. Attention, ça va mal. Respecter des Kaira et des Wood Boy. J'aurais pu dire je vais prendre le trône car il est temps qu'ils admettent qui est le meilleur dans le rap c'est franc. Qu'ils reconnaissent qui est l'MC le plus performant. Qu'il y a le flow Kuchlas le plus perforant. Je n'ai pas peur du clash, je suis un combattant. Attention, je ne suis jamais là où on m'attend. Attention, si jamais tu prétends que j'ai fait mon temps. Attention, je vais écrire ce texte avec ton sang. Attention, parce que je me suis mis en mode destruction. Attention, parce que je laisse parler mes impulsions. Attention, je suis sauvage dans la compétition. Attention, ça c'est le refrain donc répétition. Attention, parce que je me suis mis en mode destruction. Attention, parce que je laisse parler mes impulsions. Attention, je suis sauvage dans la compétition. Attention, 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 attention. J'aurais pu dire c'est danger. Attention, foulez comme les mecs de Guadada. Attention, c'est un coup de machette ça. Attention, vous pouvez pas faire ça. Attention, qui est le best. Après mon passage, mais qu'est-ce qui reste? Tu veux de la performance, si pas t'inquiète. Laisse-moi donner ça, dégommer ça, je te remets ça. Attention, attention, j'aurais pu dire dans le rap je vais durer, purée, je vais tuer ça, je peux vous le jurer. Je vais inonder le marché jusqu'à le saturer, capturer le rap français après l'avoir ceinturé. Je vais le plaquer au sol, le ligoter, le torturer. Il va changer de visage normal et je vais le défigurer. Je vais drop des bombes, creuser des tombes. Je les prends tous, quel que soit leur nombre. J'aurais pu dire, ils peuvent même pas imaginer le nombre de flots que j'ai pour les assassiner. Je mets à chanter, regarde-les, ils sont fascinés. Ils se demandent si du rap ou du rock and roll. Attention, tu demandes, c'est du rap ou du rock and roll. J'aurais pu dire, mais si ton flow est trop fragile, il a beau faire de la gonflette, il est fait d'argile. Le mien est taillé dans le ciment, mais pourtant agile. Agile, dès que je le balance au mic, les foules s'agitent. Ton flow est féminin, le mien est péril. Tes rimes sont faciles, je les vois venir comme un cœur en civil. Je domine la ville, sur cassette CD ou sur vinyle. Don't you know I carry gems and I stay real. J'ai trop de style, mon flow est trop versatile. Le tien est rigide, le mien est trop.
Yeah, well, welcome back to My Preventive Health. This is the second segment of the Caribbean Report. For those of you who are watching us, you're seeing us on Comcast Live in Atlanta, Channel 24. You can also watch us on the web at www.peopletv.org. If you will go to the right-hand side of your screen, you can click on Live Show, and you'll see us there. We're having just an incredible discussion here with, well, first of all, let me reintroduce our of course, my great co-host, Dr. Mack, who's with us every Friday. And we have two great guests for this show, Dr. Elizabeth Barkley, who is a physician here in Atlanta. Her area of expertise is psychiatry, and she's working with her good friend, Mr. Yidia, who is head of Hope International Christian Ministries. Did I get that correct? Right.
Hope Christian International.
Right, Christian International Ministries. That's right. And they're organizing an effort to help rebuild some of the infrastructure, especially the medical infrastructure of Liberia. Now, I should mention that before we get much further along, that you are associated with a very good friend of both Dr. Max and myself on this trip, Dr. Donovan Christie, who himself has done a lot of work, missionary work in Liberia, and who is one of the really top-notch docs here in Atlanta. And so is he going to be working with you on this trip?
Absolutely, yes.
That is fantastic. So we must let him know, and he'll be coming on to the show in the spring, and I'm sure. So probably when he comes back,
Exactly.
right? And you guys can talk about your trip at that time. Just before the break, we were talking about the discrepancy between the population and the number of trained medical personnel, and I want you to tell us a little bit about that. I know you chatted with Dedrick, the population of Liberia is what, almost 4 million
Yes,
or so?
it's about 3.5.
3.5. And tell us a little bit about the.
Well, yeah, the ratio of physicians to the population right now is very, very appalling. And that's contributing to the essential lack of a functioning health system in Liberia. So a call has been made by the only teaching hospital in Liberia right now is the John F. Kennedy Memorial Hospital. And the medical coordinator over there, Dr. Robert Poto, has made a clarion call out for to physicians around the world who would be interested in helping out at this training institute, JF Kennedy Medical Center. We do have a medical school in Liberia. It's called the A.M. Dogliotti Medical College, which comes under the University of Liberia, and that's the only clinical training that we have is at the John F. Kennedy Medical Center, and there's a dire need at this time for specialists across the board. Yes, and if anyone is interested, they can get in touch with me, or I can give the email address for Dr. Poto. His name is Dr. Robert Poto. Poto is spelled K-P-O-T-O, and he can be reached at R as in Randy, K, P as in Paul, O-T-O @hotmail.com.
And these would be volunteers to assist with the medical situation there. Because we're a nonprofit, and so
Yes,
we deal only in the
exactly,
volunteer.
exactly.
And I'm going to actually make a suggestion to you to use your Barbados connection. Where there, no, seriously, where there are a lot of doctors being trained in Barbados. There's a medical school, very good medical school there.
Yes.
There's almost a surplus of doctors there.
Okay,
And I'm
yes.
sure that you should use those connections with Liberia
I
for
definitely
some
will.
of the students and or physicians who might want to help you.
I
So
definitely will.
well, we can follow up on that off the air. How
Off the
how
air.
about
Great,
that? Right?
great, great.
Well, Dr. Mack, I know you had some other things areas you wanted to explore.
I did.
Uh,
And this is for Mr. Yiti. I just wanted to ask you, because of the poverty and as well as the hunger and malnutrition that's widespread through Liberia, I know a lot of the churches tend to step up and help.
That is
And
true.
what are your thoughts in being in the ministry? What are you bringing to the forefront as for helping out the people in Liberia?
Yes, in April, that is next month, on the 14th of April, we are going to Liberia. We have shipped 4 barrels of drums. 3 of the drums are clothes donated by friends, and the 4th drum are 4 items donated by an organization called
It's a charitable organization.
it's a
here-
charitable
here
organization
in the
that has
United States.
donated,
Okay.
4 items that we are carrying to help
Yeah.
feed the children.
Right.
And I know that you guys are providing clean water, housing, and eventually building the schools and facilities.
Yes.
And is this, and you're getting help through nonprofit organizations as well as through a lot of the entities of the churches. Are you looking at it just within? Are you getting it worldwide help? In this effort?
Well, at this point now, we're getting some help here and there from friends and relatives, and with the help of my church as well. My church has promised to donate the drugs through Blessings International and a map of pharmaceutical company. And those drugs will be taken with us to help treat the children, the sick children.
Very good.
And at the same time, we'll be feeding them, and we'll be doing children's ministry and evangelism.
Yeah.
Good.
Now, let me understand this. So you've decided really since you can't solve the entire problem of Liberia, that you would pick a specific village and try to make an impact there.
Yeah.
How large is this village? Help us understand.
There are several villages that are connected. Okay, we want to start from the village where I was born in Timbo. Yes,
I see.
because we cannot help everybody, but we
Right.
will be able to help certain villages.
Right. And then how far is this a remote village? Is it close to transportation?
It is a very remote village.
I
From
see.
where the road stops to the village, it's only a footpath. It's a 49 minutes of walking distance.
49 minutes.
Yeah, and at this point, we are trying to connect road to that village.
So you want to build a road as well, and
Yeah.
in the village you want to build a school,
Yes.
a church.
Yeah, we want to
and
build a school, yes. It's a
That's-
12 classroom school.
How many classes?
12 classroom
12
school.
classroom schools.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's exciting, and that's commendable.
Thank you.
We're really proud of you guys
Thank
for
you.
doing that.
Very much so.
Well, that is incredible. I know Dr. Mack talked about the problem of hunger and malnutrition, and it's good to know that you're addressing that as well, because it's hard to have strong minds if you don't have full tummies. You know? Right.
you.
Now, I want in the 5 or so minutes that are left, actually more like 3 minutes that are left, I want to talk about long-term solutions, because I know Dr. Mack, you and I chatted a little bit, and we said, yeah, it's great to talk about short-term solutions,
Exactly.
but if you don't put something in place to effect a long-term solution, right, then you're really just
Kind of spinning your wheels.
spinning your wheels. Now, the long-term solutions, of course, you really need the international donor community.
That is
Right?
true.
And the international donor community right now is in a mess. I mean, the whole world economy, as you know, is just really in a mess. Has the international donor community, and this is for both of you, have they been able to step up to the plate? And we've got a couple of minutes left. You can address that. Have they been stepping up to the plate to do what they should be doing to help with the situation in Liberia?
Well, it is a cry of our heart and asking everybody to come in to help us, because this is a situation that we cannot handle ourselves. So we are calling on out our friends at home and abroad to help in whatever way possible.
So either in goods or donations.
Exactly.
So you're looking at any which way in order to help for this cause.
That is.
Yeah.
And I would like to say the other way is to bring the need to the forefront.
Right.
And in Liberia, just recently we had, for Women's Month, we had the International Women's Colloquium
Right.
that addressed women empowerment, leadership,
Right.
development, peace, and security in Liberia. This brought together a lot of the international community into Liberia, and
Right.
I'm gonna have to get some of the results of
Right.
that,
Right.
and maybe in our next section I can bring more information.
Right.
But the international community is involved in helping Liberia, and the way we can help is to continuously bring our need to the forefront.
Right, and you have, of course, a very dynamic president.
Exactly, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
President Sirleaf, and she has just a remarkable presence and a strong connection to Atlanta, of course, because her
Exactly.
daughter went to school here at Spelman. Is that not correct?
Her
Her granddaughter went to
Yes.
school here at Spelman.
Yes.
And so what we really should be able to use those connections, because Atlanta always leads in these efforts. You know, Atlanta is, if you want to be someplace where you can lead an effort like this, I mean, you can tap into the
Yes.
community. Atlanta is a place to do it. And so we'll be more than happy to help you in your efforts. And
Thank
maybe
you.
you should recruit her back to back to help. No, recruit her
Exactly.
granddaughter back to help, because it's a laudable effort that you guys are doing. Right. Well, in the minute or so that's left, let me just thank our audience for being with us. You've been watching the My Preventive Health segment of the Caribbean Report. We encourage you to tune in next week when we have some more exciting guests for you, both on the Caribbean Report and on My Preventive Health. We are always proud and pleased to have our co-host, Dr. Mack, who's handsome as ever, standing next to me. And Mr. Udia, thank you so much for coming. We wish you luck with your ministries. I know Dr. Donovan Christie personally, and I certainly do everything that we can to help him. I know that you're going to be successful because, first of all, you're not only smart, but you're beautiful.
Thank you, Dr. Lee.
Right. And we look forward to having you back when you come back.
Most definitely.
From Liberia. And let us know. We really need to, let us know exactly how you did and how we can help you in this effort. And just before we break again, Can you tell us, Mr. Yudi, again, if people want to help, how they can reach you? Their website?
Please go on our website. The
www.
website address is www.hopecim.org.
That C as in Charlie, I as in ink, M as in Mary.
.org. That is
right.
correct.
And or you can, of course, you can always check with us at mypreventivehealth.com, or you can blog with us at www.myphvoice.com, and you can send questions there. We will pass them on to you, and we will be continuing to monitor the situation with you. We are really especially interested in your attempts to get the kids, to get the kids rehabilitated. That's a very laudable effort, and we really want you to come back and tell us how that is progressing. Okay?
Attention, qui est le best? Après mon passage, mais qu'est-ce qui reste? Tu veux de la performance, il pas t'inquiète. Laisse-moi donner ça, dégommer ça, je te remets ça. Écoute ça, attention, j'aurais pu dire dans le rap, je vais durer. Purée, je vais tuer ça, je peux vous le jurer. Je vais inonder le marché jusqu'à le saturer. Capturer le rap français après l'avoir ceinturé. Je vais le plaquer au sol, le ligoter, le torturer. Il va changer de visage normal et je vais le défigurer. Je vais drop des bombes, creuser des tombes. Je les prends tous, quel que soit leur nom. J'aurais pu dire, ils peuvent même pas imaginer le nombre de flots que j'ai pour les assassiner. Je me mets à chanter, regarde-les, ils sont fascinés. Ils se demandent si le rap ou du rock and roll. Attention, c'est du rap ou du rock and roll. J'aurais pu dire, mais si ton flow est trop fragile, il a beau faire de la gonflette, il est fait d'argile. Ton mien est taillé dans le ciment, mais pourtant agile. Agile, dès que je le balance au mic, les foules s'agitent. Ton flow est efféminé, le mien est viril. Tes rimes sont faciles, je les vois venir comme un cœur en civil. Je domine la ville, sur cassette CD ou sur vinyle. Don't you know I carry James and I stay real. J'ai trop de style, mon flow est trop versatile. Le tien est rigide, le mien est trop mobile. Dans le rap game, en déplacement à domicile. Je balance des missiles, ici ceci est un homicide. Mon flow ne suit plus, pourtant le mien lui reste lucide. Quand mon rap s'énerve, pourquoi le tien devient docile? Compréhensif, pourtant le mien demeure hostile. Don't you know I'm Kerry James and I stay real. Attention, parce que je me suis mis en mode destruction. Attention, parce que je laisse parler mes impulsions. Attention, je suis sauvage dans la compétition. Attention, ça c'est le refrain donc répétition. Attention, parce que je me suis mis en mode destruction. Attention.